Now, it's no surprise to anyone that's known me for any short amount of time that I love Power Rangers. I've seen almost every season, I've read the comics, I watched the movie when it came out in theaters. I used to play with the toys when I was a kid. Hell, I still have some right now. This franchise has been a part of my life since I was a kid, and over the years I've started to appreciate the series more and more as I learned about the backstory behind its creations and a lot of the tropes that come with it. Now, obviously Power Rangers is a children's television program, and I'm not exactly in the age range for it. I'm simultaneously too young and too old to enjoy most Power Rangers content. Enter Boom Studios' Power Rangers saga. Since 2015, Boom Studios has been pumping out consistently great Power Rangers comics. What I like about this series is that it takes the already established tropes, the teen drama, the big alien monsters, and the silly character design, and completely modernizes it. They also up the maturity level without making it dark and edgy. The series was a pretty big success, especially with the Shattered Grid event, which brought Power Rangers across every series together for one epic event. There was even a pretty fun fighting game made out of it. Seriously, you should check it out. Now, why am I telling you all this? Well, Kyle Higgins, Ryan Parrott, Melissa Flores, and Matt Groom, who have all written for Boom Studios' Power Rangers saga, have all been working on what I consider to be one of, if not the most interesting indie superhero series going on right now, that being Image Comics' Massiveverse, consisting of Radiant Black, Rogue Sun, Inferno Girl Red, The Dead Lucky, and most recently, No One. But what exactly is the Massiveverse? Who are these characters, and why are these series getting so much praise? Well, what better way than to explore the series that came out first and started it all? This is Kyle Higgins' Radiant Black. Radiant Black began in February of 2021 with Kyle Higgins holding the pen and quill and Marcelo Costa on art. The series follows Nathan Burnett, a broke, starving writer who, after moving back to his hometown of Lockport, Illinois, discovers and unlocks the cosmic radiant powers. These grant him flight, super strength, cosmic blasts, force pushing, and not to mention a really spiffy Power Rangers inspired costume. However, starting in issue 5, we switch perspectives from Nathan to Marshall, Nathan's best friend who takes up the mantle after Nathan is hospitalized by Radiant Red, the series' first antagonist. Right out the gate, switching points of view so early on in the story is an interesting choice. Usually you'd see something like this happen later on once we really get to know the main character, but by switching from Nathan to Marshall, we get a really cool personal conflict a little over halfway through the first volume. Oh yeah, in that same issue we also get our first introduction to Existence, a mysterious realm that holds the answers to the Radiant abilities. Later on, we also get introduced to Radiant Red, Radiant Yellow, and Radiant Pink. Radiant Red and Radiant Pink both got their own spin-off miniseries, and a Radiant Yellow spin-off is pretty much inevitable, but that's besides the point. Marshall stepping in as the main character by the end of Volume 1 didn't really feel out of place. It didn't seem like Nathan was just thrown out, which could have easily happened, but Higgins was able to make us care about Marshall, especially during the aforementioned issue 5, where we see Marshall deal not only with his new powers, but the weight of taking someone's place and feeling inferior. It also helps that Marshall is a pretty interesting character to follow. He's got this strange mixture of Spider-Man and Booster Gold. He's quippy, but he also puts his status as a celebrity and an influencer above most other things he does. At the end of the day though, we don't really want to see Marshall fail. We want to see him overcome the obstacles that he's faced with. It's a nice breath of fresh air to see our main character not always be the best person at times. Now, most of what I covered revolves around the first volume and just a little bit of the second. I could go into more plot developments, but I truly, and I mean this, I truly believe that you should read Radiant Black for yourself. I think you should go into the series not knowing anything. I think that's the best way to consume the series. Robert Kirkman describes Radiant Black as this generation's Invincible, and I think that's a pretty good comparison. This series takes a lot of superhero tropes and uses them to its advantage by creating a familiar story that many people can enjoy, but also takes time to flip those tropes around and give us a really refreshing story. The swapping of Nathan to Marshall is just one of those things. Its use of Power Rangers and tokusatsu aesthetics is also an awesome change of pace from the typical types of superhero stories we see. We're not following a billionaire vigilante, a teenager who hides his identity from his loved ones, or a super powerful being who is grounded to earth. We're following a guy who just wants to make it and is living day to day. The superhero thing is just an added plus and is helping him out of this slump, even if he gets beat or messes up from time to time. This story, especially Nathan and Marshall, remind me of Kamen Rider. It's a pretty popular, mature alternative to Power Rangers. Even if you're not a big Power Rangers fan like me, I think that there's something here for everyone to enjoy. Trust me when I say this, I genuinely think that this comic will be the next big indie superhero series that people will latch onto. It's already super popular among comic readers, and I can definitely see the general audience latching onto a potential animated series of Radiant Black in the same way they attach themselves to stuff like Invincible and The Boys. As of the recording of this video, Radiant Black's 24th issue has just dropped, and its first big event, the Catalyst War, is set to start in July. Guys, if you haven't been reading Radiant Black, I cannot recommend it enough. There's no other issues that you need to read, just start at issue 1. Hell, you don't even have to read any of the other Massive Verse books to get into it. Rogue Sun, Dead Lucky, Radiant Red, Radiant Pink, you don't have to read about any of that. All of these stories are independent, so you could start anywhere. I think that's a really interesting approach. Supermassive, the crossover one-shot that brought together all the Massiverse characters, might be the only issue that you might want to consider reading, but even then, it's pretty standalone, and you don't really have to worry about it impacting the wider story of Radiant Black. Have you read Radiant Black? If so, what did you think? If you haven't, are you interested? If you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. My name is Nate, and I'll see you next week on The Short Box.